So if you didn't know already, I'm a bit of a scary cat, but is this movie more of a horror or a thriller? Let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey guys, welcome back, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Just My Opinion. And if you're into movies and want my honest opinion on them, please consider subscribing. And if you happen to like this video, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Spell! I put a spell on you. It's one of the latest horror thriller films that is gracing us this 2020 Halloween season. Now, this film is being directed by Mr. Mark Tanandarai. Please excuse me if I butcher your name. But when I hear that name, it doesn't ring any bells. I can't think of anything that this brother has done, and he is a brother, so that's what's up. But when I looked him up, his filmography, he's done a ton of TV. He directed a couple of episodes of Black Lightning, and I am a big fan of that show. In 2008, he directed Hush. That's another horror film, and I did not see that film. But in 2012, he directed The House at the End of the Street, starring Jennifer Lawrence. Now, I haven't seen that movie either, but if my memory serves me correctly, I think I do remember a lot of people saying like, hey, this is a dope-ass film. It's pretty good. It surprised me. You should check it out if you have a chance. So if you have seen any of those films, please let me know what you thought down below. Now, as far as my expectations are concerned, like I said, I'm not really a horror guy. I'm a scary cat, but I am a big fan of the protagonist and the antagonist in this movie, being Loretta Devine and Omari Hardwick. We know Mr. Hardwick from Kick-Ass, being Mary Jane, Sparkle, most notably from Power, and of course the sweetie Miss Loretta Devine. She was in The Waiting to Exhale that came out in 1995. I do need to watch that movie again because I've seen it a number of times, but like not at the age I am right now. But I'm a big fan of them, and so I wanted to give this movie a chance. But before we get into it, let me tell you what it's about. While flying to his father's funeral in rural Appalachia, an intense storm causes Marquise, Omar Hardwick, to lose control of the plane carrying him and his family. He awakens wounded, alone, and trapped in Miss Eloise Loretta Devine's attic, who claims she can nurse him back to health with the Boogity, a hoodoo figure she has made from his blood and skin. Unable to call for help, Marquise desperately tries to outwit and break free from her dark magic and save his family from a sinister ritual before the rise of the blood moon. Okay, I couldn't help that. Now, after you heard me read that synopsis, and if you've seen the trailer, you may be saying to yourself or asking this question like, wait a minute. Is this a ripoff of the Stephen King novel classic that came out in 1990, or the movie Misery with James Caan and Kathy Bates? To answer your question, yes. This is kind of a ripoff of that movie, but that does not mean that it's not good. But going back to Misery real quick, guys, if you have not seen this movie, please watch Misery. It is a classic suspense thriller, even horror film. If you watch it, you will not regret it. There you go. Now, when it comes to HooDoo, which was also described, I actually never heard of HooDoo before. I've heard of Voodoo before, or Voodoo. And, growing up, Voodoo was like, it put a bad taste in my mouth because I heard stupid, ignorant, he may be a racist white supremacist, I don't know, Pat Robertson talking about, the Haitians, they won in 1804 because they worship the devil. And when I grew up, I learned that that's a bunch of crap, just a bunch of propaganda. But, this film right here, 1804, The Hidden History of Haiti, directed by our brother Tariq Nasheed. This right here is kind of like where I gained a little bit more knowledge on like what voodoo is. But this is not voodoo, this is hoodoo. And so if you're interested, what is the difference between voodoo and hoodoo? Well, if you're into magic, witchcraft, which I am not, and or faith healing, okay, you've undoubtedly run across voodoo and hoodoo. But are you aware that these two belief systems are completely different from each other, even though they may and at times look the same? The main difference between voodoo and hoodoo is that the former, voodoo, is an actual religion, while the latter is not. Voodoo has its own rituals, leaders, teachers, representatives, and services, plus two distinct branches. The voodoo or voodoo of New Orleans and Louisiana, and the voodoo of Haiti. Hoodoo, on the other hand, is not a religion. has no organizational structure, and is practiced by individuals, sometimes called root doctors or root healers, who claim to have certain magical powers. So that's kind of what this film is about right here. It's misery mixed with hoodoo, starring Loretta Devine and Omari Hardwick. Let's go. Now, as the film starts off and we're getting introduced to all the characters, the main protagonist, Marquise, Omari Hardwick, I was a little bit turned off, put a bad taste in my mouth, because I thought that we were getting like an exact carbon copy of James St. Patrick, the character that he played in Power. But, you know, rest assured, that's not how his character, you know, ended up throughout the whole movie. And he ended up being a guy that I liked. I mean, you know, he was a stand-up guy. He was a family man. He had his beliefs. He had his code. He had his structure. And I can get behind all of that. We also get little bits of his backstory. And he's a traumatized man, been through a lot. And, you know, I kind of felt sorry for him. I sympathized with him, wasn't able to empathize, but that was able to make me attach myself to his character. Now, something else that really just stood out to me that I loved in this film is what the director, Mark, was doing with the camera angles. You know, every time we saw somebody, especially Mr. Hardwick or Marquise, you know, the camera was low looking up at him, so that just, I mean, he's already a swole, kind of muscular guy, and he wears a lot of suits. He's a businessman. But when you have the camera low and you're looking up to him, you know, you look to him with respect, with power, you know, with, like I said, some type of structure. And that just made his character stand out that much more and just made him that much stronger. And also, another thing that I liked about this film is throughout, I mean, this is like a horror thriller, you know, and so there's going to be a lot of facial expressions and mannerisms and just showing the character scared and not knowing what to do and what's around the corner. And what they did with the camera, which is very great, which focus on that, is they would zoom in on everyone's face so much, and the face is focused while everything in the background is blurred out. So you really got a testament of what these characters were going through just through all their facial expressions. So early on, where things are really starting to rev up and get good and the crap really hits the fan and just creates a big old mess. And I'm just saying to myself, wow, you really just woke up in hell. Like, this is a true nightmare. Like, I mean, the way it was depicted in this film, there cannot be anything worse. I mean, maybe you can imagine a few things, but this is like the worst of the worst of the worst. And I'm just like, whoa, man, I'm rooting for you, man. Like, I want you to make it. I want you to make it. You know, and you're really getting into the movie at this point. And there are a lot of cringe-worthy moments in this movie. I don't want to go over the top and exaggerate and say that this is just like some gore fest, like this is just torture porn, like Saw or something like that. No, that would be, like I said, an exaggeration. But there are a number of cringy moments because they're dealing with this hoodoo magic. And you have Loretta Devine. I mean, her character, you can really describe her as like a sweet monster. How can you be sweet and be a monster at the same time? That's crazy. The woman can act. She's a great talent, and it shows in this film right here. And like I said, it's not over the top gory, but there is a decent amount of blood and a little bit of gore. And what makes it crazy is, I mean, we see blood and gore and stuff in all types of action movies and all types of entertainment, you know, and we can just kind of eat popcorn and there's nothing to it. But in this film right here, what makes it stand out is just like the psyche behind the psychological thrilling elements that are in this film, and how this lifestyle that these characters live, these antagonists, you know, I mean, this is just normal to them. This hoodoo lifestyle is just so casual. If they want to chop off someone's head, pluck out some eyes, squirt some blood here and there, I mean, they do it as easily as making a ham sandwich or something like that. Or like I said, popping a bag of popcorn. And it's just like, whoa, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. Like, everyone's cut from a different cloth. You know, I'm a city suburb guy. These people are deep down in the country practicing hoodoo magic. And that really, really does mess up your mind. It's like, you know, hey, you know, everybody's not the same on this planet. And there really is a good element of suspense and thrills in this movie. I was just saying to myself, oh my gosh, dude, watch out. Be smarter than this. Okay, if I was in your situation, what would I do? Be careful. Make sure you lock the door back. Make sure you move this thread over here. Make sure you close the window. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. Make sure that you're not caught. Please don't get caught. I want you to live. I mean, there was a number of times I did not know what was going to happen. I was nervous. I was scared. I was panicking. I just didn't know what to do. And another great thing about this is it's short. I mean, the official runtime is 1 hour and 31 minutes, but I was watching it, and when the credits hit, it was about 1 hour and 24 minutes, so it's fairly short. And the pacing is great in this movie too. And you also have your oh no, oh shit, WTF moments. And I'm just like, man, you know, what's going on? And, you know, it raises a lot of questions while you're watching this. Like, okay, did this happen or did that happen? Oh my God, I want to know right now. But you have to wait till the end of the movie to really find out. And at the end, there was a bit of justice that was served, but you're not going to be able to predict what it was, even with me saying this right here. And I was satisfied with it for the most part. However, when they did wrap up everything and started to conclude, I wish they would have fleshed out things a little bit more. And early on in the film, and this is kind of a gripe or a nitpick, when we're getting flashes of Marquise's backstory, I don't think that the backstory paid off to or match the present day. And I wanted a bit more explanation on the rise of the blood moon. I mean, they gave you a little bit, but I just wanted a little bit more. About the first hour of this movie when I was watching, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go as far as saying that this is better than Misery, but it is as good. I mean, they were right there. But the last 20-25 minutes, you know, I don't want to just say it got sloppy, but they kind of caught some corners. And if they would have just kind of fleshed it out a little bit more, just gave us maybe 5 or 10 more minutes of film, you know, just to flesh things out, to add a little bit more meat to the bone. I mean, you probably, I don't want to say another classic film, but it would have been up there in the higher ranks. But overall, I really did enjoy it. There was a high level of suspense. There was a high level of thrills and scares, not jump scares, but scares because you just really don't know what's going to happen. And you're really rooting for the protagonist. And, you know, it's unpredictable. I mean, it really is, especially when you're not familiar with magical hoodoo before. You don't know the rules. You don't, I mean, if it's just like a regular slasher film, okay, kill the slasher, shoot him in the head, run him over with a car, you know, something like that. But I am in unfamiliar territory here, and so everything is a surprise to me. And so I'll go ahead and say that it is not as good as Misery. No, it's not. But, you know, I do respect the film for the attempt that it made. I think it's a pretty decent film. I think it's a good film. I think you would enjoy it. And I think you should give it a try because, you know, there was a surprise at the end. Some things I thought was going to happen, and it did happen. Some things I thought were going to happen, and they did not happen. Some things came completely out of nowhere. And for me going into a film with completely low expectations, you know, when the critics said, I was happy. I was satisfied with this movie. So if you're into things like this, go ahead and give it a view. If I had to rate Spell out of a 1 out of 10, I think I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. I was thinking about an 8, but I think I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10, which is pretty good, guys, which is pretty good. But, guys, that is just my opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, if you liked the video, please go ahead and give me that thumbs up and also consider subscribing to the channel. Please help me reach 38,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate that, and I can only do it with your help. You can also look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's all right there. But guys, again, before you go, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget to always chase your dreams, because I'm chasing mine. My name is Bernie Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.